Call to order meeting for the City of Wyoming, Minnesota, August 17th, 2021. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. Member Yeager, Member Schilling, Member Onstad, Member Luger, and Mayor Iverson are present. Please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance led by Member Schilling.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I think I need to clarify it's the City Council regular meeting. I think I might have messed up on that just a tad. So, all right, open forum. Do we have anybody here for open forum? We do not. We'll move on to approval of minutes. Number 1 on our agenda. Consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for August 4th, 2021. Do we have any comments or questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Number 2, 3, and 4. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Nobody wishes to approve anything, so we do need a motion to approve consent agenda 2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So approved. Acknowledgement of receipts and reports of our officers, boards, commissions, and department heads. Number 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Does anybody wish to pull an item or report for further discussion? We do not. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to old business. Number 10, to consider resolution 21-08-77 to purchase a 2021 Polaris Ranger 570 from Towsley Motorsports in the amount of $14,922.90, including documentation fee minus $3,000 for a trade-in of a 2006 Polaris Ranger for a total cost of $11,922.90. Mr. Elmgeld, are you starting with us today?
That's correct, Mayor. This resolution was tabled last council meeting and for this council meeting, and through the process with COVID and everything, there are no 2021s available, and there is 2 Arctic Cats, but their accessories are not available. And so I went through that, but we did find John Deere, and they actually have our unit for appraising it for an estimate, and it is 2022 models, and their pricings, and they're through sorts well too. And so that's, we're just not ready today. If we could table it till next meeting, it would be good to go.
Okay. All right, I'll make the motion to table the resolution 21-0877 to purchase a 2020 Polaris. Do we want to say the John Deere? Do you want to go with that, or?
Just table the resolution, yeah.
Okay, so, okay, I'll make the motion to table resolution 21-08-77. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So tabled. We'll move on to number 11, which is new business. To consider resolution 21-08-86, a resolution approving a variance V-21-001 rear property line setback at Forest Boulevard, County Road 30 by the applicant Advanced Engineering Concepts and owner Hallberg Inc., property ID number 21.10293.00 and 21.11084.72. Mr. Weck, are you taking this one?
Yes, Madam Mayor and council members. Hallberg Inc. is asking to construct an RV storage facility. They came in for site plan review in June. The Planning Commission reviewed the application. There were some items that we needed further clarification on. One of them being the building setbacks, which is the next resolution, or which was the first resolution. Then also information about the fence and the signs and the exterior material and the woodland preservation plan. They did bring all that information in and did apply for a variance for the building setback. The setback from the rear property line, which in this case is the trail on the freeway, but it's still 35 feet. So they're requesting a variance of 22 feet. Planning Commission is recommending approval of that variance. And then I guess on the site plan review, which would be the next item, again, the Planning Commission is recommending approval of that application as well, with one condition that the structure of the proposed screen fence and its ability to withstand expected wind loads shall be verified at the time of the building permit application, and that would be done when they do apply. One of the questions was about the exterior material. It's a metal stucco type product, similar to the same things that they had with the last two buildings they constructed, the Power Mat site now on Fallbrook, and the showroom that faces the freeway. And the Planning Commission considered that one of the superior comparable materials to what we have, since we don't specifically say that type of material. So again, the Planning Commission accepted that material and is recommending approval of the site plan.
Okay. Perfect. We'll start with members. Yeager, any questions?
Yes, you say the fence around the property is 8 feet,
Yes.
but your basic average RV height is 10 to 12 feet. So will people be seeing the tops of the RVs over the fence?
They would, but there's no screening required for this use where they're at. They're against the freeway, and they're also on the other side of the county road, so they don't need to be screened. I think the fencing is more, there's a screening as a part of it, but it's also for security as well.
Okay, and by screening, are you talking trees or just the fence?
It's just the fence,
But you'll still see the tops of the RVs?
yes. Any
Okay.
that are parked outside, I think most of them are going to be in the buildings. But
And what would be the impact on the trail?
they're providing an access there is a current one. People are technically trespassing through the property right now, but they have mowed a trail to make it easier for them to get there, and they have provided a way for them to continue getting to the trail without having to go all the way around the property.
Okay. I might slow down. And then when somebody's on the trail, they'll just see a fence in the,
Yes,
okay,
yes, or the backs of the buildings, but yes.
okay. How about security for that fence on the trail? Well, can the fence be breached or hopped over by somebody?
I think any fence could be breached or hopped over. The security will be up to the applicant, not necessarily the city.
Okay. Are there going to be monitor security cameras?
Yes, there will be cameras.
Okay. That's all my questions. I basically have no problems with the buildings and what you want to do, because it sounds like the buildings are going to look nice. But I do have a big problem with the outdoor storage. And because there are homes to the east, and while the property north of your property, while the area north of your property is zoned agricultural and guided for light industrial and general business, the reality is that the adjacent field belongs to the folks in real nice homes, and there are nice homes beyond that. And I can't see them being torn down or removed to make way for light industrial general business. I've also driven down the freeway, and we've all seen the outdoor RV storage along the highway, and I'm gonna tell you, to me, it looks really bad. And it's not something I would want to see looking out my front window, even if it is just the tops. And it's not something I would want the first impression if somebody's coming down 61. So I think it has a negative effect on the surrounding homes and on their values. And I mean, get rid of the outdoor storage, I'm all for it. And that's all I have to say.
Council, would you mind if I asked Mr. Halberg to come up for a few questions? Mr. Halberg, can you come up just for a couple questions? We're actually kind of doing 11 and 12 by the looks of it, correct? So if we're fine with that? Perfect. Mr. Halberg, I was here for the open meeting for Planning Commission, and there were some really good questions. I'm wondering if you could describe a little bit more about the type of RVs that are going to be in this location, and just kind of some other things that you're doing differently compared to maybe some of your other storage facilities.
Sure. So one of the main things that we're going to be doing with this property or this project is there's going to be a limit of one item per stall. So there's not going to be an accumulation of junk in any given unit. Another thing that we're going to be doing, we're going to be having a limit on the age of the vehicles in the facility. So we don't want anything that's older than 10 or 15 years. So the really, really old run-down equipment that gets dropped off there, left, and they pay the bill every month and they never touch it or use it. We're not gonna be seeing that kind of stuff. It'll be nicer, bigger, more expensive vehicles that are in there, more well-maintained. Registration will need to be kept up to date. Nicer vehicles really in the facility.
And you were saying something could be around $200,000 motor, RVs is kind of the upper end of what you're gonna do. And that tends to not be the people that come every weekend and pull out their vehicle and come back again. It's something that usually spring and fall is.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of people, I would say, that would be the type of people who bring their RV up north and leave it up there, go up there for extended periods. Retired folk who actually go somewhere and stay down south for the winter time. That type of customer is kind of more what we're looking for the facility versus somebody who's in and out all the time. Yeah, just something that's a little bit more stable.
And then can you describe your fence that I don't know if do we have the picture of it?
It's in your packet.
It is.
There, okay,
It's in here.
so it's a little more of an upgraded fence versus just the chain link fence that's in some of the other ones?
Yes, it's a chain link fence that has plastic slats in it. I believe it's 98% opacity. The slats that are in it, they actually make it a pretty sturdy fence. It's a more durable. We were thinking about going with the color green, but if you guys had an opposition to that and thought a different color would look better, we'd be open to options there. I just thought the green would fit into the environment a little bit more than some of the other options. But overall, it's something that's gonna stay looking a little bit better than just your typical chain link fence that starts to droop or look a little bit outdated over time. From what I've seen, these fences, they last a long time with not much maintenance.
Okay, and the security and the lighting?
The security and the lighting, so we're planning on putting security cameras in. I don't know how many yet, but it will likely be 6 or 8 cameras. The lighting, we're not doing any street lights. It's all gonna be lights that are attached to the building. Something, I think there might be a I don't know if there's a picture.
Yeah, there is.
There is one more picture up. It's a type of light where it only shines down. It doesn't shine out towards the neighbors across the street or anything. There shouldn't be too much light that's penetrating into the neighborhoods across the street or even onto the street as you drive by.
Okay, and then I know that there's many residents that walk the path, and when you were here, a couple women had some questions about that because the neighbor's been mowing that. So that's something you're taking over now?
Yeah, so we will obviously be mowing our own property. We'll be taking care of that path. We can't, right now there's 2 paths that are going through the property. One of the paths goes directly through the middle of the property, so obviously we can't accommodate that one. But the one off of 273rd, I think it is, 273rd or 274th, that directly across from that, we are leaving an area where you can walk across our property onto the trail. So the residents will have access to that trail still.
Okay, perfect. That was all my questions. Member Schilling, do you have any questions? And with Mr. Halbert standing?
Actually, I have no questions, thank you.
Okay, Member Onstad?
Everything's been
One
answered.
question for Fred, actually, but you may be able to answer this. You kind of answered it already, but it sounds like with the paths going on either side, that'll increase the ability for public safety, fire, and police to access the area right behind there. Should we have a fire or?
It's not a path like that. Right now, it's like a 3 or 4 foot wide, just mowed path through the field. Any access to the property for firefighting would be from their main entrance. The facility would be small enough where we don't need to get around the backside. We'll say like a frontage road. I think if it got to that point, though, I think we could get onto the trail and access if we had to. But that's not the point of the boat trail is just for resident access.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and Member Luger?
I
any
have no questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hallberg. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'll read 11, we've talked about 11 and 12, so I'll read 11, and then I'll go directly to 12 if there are, it sounded like we had our discussion. So, Resolution 21-08-86, a resolution approving a variance V-21-001, rear property line setback at Forest Boulevard, County Road 30 by the applicant Advanced Engineering Concept and owner Hallberg, Inc. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
So approved. Number 12, to consider resolution 21-08-87, a resolution approving a site plan review, SP-21-002-Hallberg RV storage facility at Forest Boulevard, County Road B by the applicant Advanced Engineering Concepts and owner Hallberg, Inc. Property ID number 21.10293.00, 21.11.084.72. We have had conversations. Is there any other conversations need to be on this? If not, we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by member Schilling. Do we have a second by member Onstad?
Yes.
We have a second by member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Approved. Number 13, to consider the hiring of Trevor Minor for the position of police officer at a rate of $29.79. Chief Hoppy?
Madam Mayor and the council, we're presenting tonight a candidate to hire for police officer position. As you guys are aware, we did have one of the officers, Scott Thomas, leave the department back in June, and our previous eligibility list had been exhausted, and therefore we started a new eligibility list to fill a vacancy. We accelerated our hiring process because of the competitive market out there, but we did not eliminate any more steps or reduce our acceptable standards as we went through the process. So we did do the full application review, oral interviews, written tests, physical agility, background, and scenarios are all been completed through our hiring process, and we've narrowed it down to 2 candidates, which we sent to full background investigations. After reviewing all of the data that was provided by our staff, going through the selection process, I'm forwarding Trevor Minor to you for approval to hire. Mr. Minor is a resident of North Branch, has been for most of his life. He's got a bachelor's degree in criminology and sociology from the University of Duluth, which he just graduated from. During his college time, Mr. Minor worked as a community service officer, a CSO for the city of Duluth. He also volunteered on the internship with the Arrowhead Juvenile Center, where he worked with troubled teens through his college years. Certainly comes to us with some experiences that support him becoming a law enforcement officer. And then the background investigation that we did really supported what we found in that was that he really has the characters and qualities that we think are important for an individual to be a police officer in our community. So that was really exciting to see, plus some ties to the community as well, which we believe that will help lend to some longevity. So with that being said, we'd like to extend an official conditional employment offer to Mr. Minor with the conditions that he passes his psychological exam by a licensed psychologist, and that he passes his pre-employment physical exam by a licensed physician. We have a projected start date sometime in September, hopefully September 13th, and he would start at the step 1 rate that is in the part of the LAS union contract for a new police officer. So I'll stand for your questions.
I'll start, Chief Hoppy. I just want to again just state, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is not in addition to the police force, but it is actually because we had Officer Thomas leave the police force, leave policing altogether and moved away and started a different business. So I just wanted to make sure that that's true.
Correct. This is actually filling a vacancy in the department. In fact, it will be the first time in 2 years that we will be back to full staff. So we're anxious and excited to hopefully get to that point really soon.
Yeah, and so it is a budgeted item. It is.
It's a budgeted item for 2021.
Yep.
And also 2022 in our preliminary budget.
Fabulous, thank you. Member Luker will go with you for questions.
I have no questions. I'm impressed with his background.
Member Onstead.
No questions.
Member Luger, I'm sorry, Member Yeager,
No questions.
and Member Schilling.
No questions.
All right, I will make I will move to approve the hiring of Trevor Minor for the position of police officer at the rate of $29.79. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved, and we look forward to hopefully meeting him. Number 14, to consider approving the City of Wyoming application to the Resilient Community Projects. Ms. Dumas, are you doing this one?
I am, thank you, Mayor. Improving walkability in Wyoming, expanding ADA infrastructure, and making progress towards the Railroad Park project construction are all priorities that the City Council set forward in 2021. 2 projects have been reviewed and proposed for the city's application to the Resilient Communities Project as a part of the city's initiatives towards making progress on these goals. The first project being proposed is titled Aging in Parks, Active Living for All Ages in Wyoming Parks, and it is a needs analysis of the city's park system specifically focused on how to better support seniors in accessing and enjoying the city's parks. The second project, titled Community Show and Tell, Community Engagement and Final Design for Railroad Park Veterans Memorial and History Walk, is a project to lead the community engagement effort for the Veteran Memorial and the History Walk at Railroad Park, and to propose a final design for the site to be reviewed by the City Council. The Park Advisory Commission has reviewed and recommended both of these projects to the City Council. If the council were to move forward with recommending the application, the process would involve having the proposal reviewed by the University of Minnesota's Resilient Community Project. They would then identify as if there are matching coursework that's available in the upcoming semester that would meet the goals of the council. They would then, after matching the projects with courses, set specific deliverables that the council could then review and either approve or decide to not move forward with at that point. So I wanted to just be really clear on kind of where we are at in the approval process. So in the case that there was not an appropriate match, then we would not have to move forward with the project. Included in your packet are materials outlining each of the project, letters of support from the Park Advisory Commission, and minutes from those meetings, and a draft letter of support from the City Council. The Resilient Communities Project, as we have discussed, is a partnership with the University of Minnesota graduate programs where we have access to the knowledge and enthusiasm of the students going through their graduate studies there. And they have a wide variety of expertise that we can apply on and bring to the projects that we're proposing. One consideration to note, on the August 4th City Council meeting, the City Council approved the Park and Trail Master Plan, which does include a demographic analysis similar to what is proposed in the Aging in Parks project. The Park Advisory Commission did review both the Park and Trail Master Plan and the project proposal, and did recommend moving forward with an interest of doing a deeper dive into aging in parks as a part of the Resilient Communities Project beyond what the Park and Trail Master Plan includes, but that is ultimately up to the City Council how you would like to move forward. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Okay, Ms. Dumas, do you know, when they say seniors, do you know what that age is that they're trying to include?
I think specifically they're trying to first and foremost make the parks accessible to really people of all ages, but focusing on people who are at or near retirement or past retirement, and making sure that there's still opportunities to be engaged in the community. But ultimately, by working towards expanding access to that type of generation, you're also expanding access to many other people in the community as well.
Okay, and so what we're talking about is really 2 projects, $6,000 each,
Correct.
$12,000. And we approved the master plan at $28,000, if my
Correct.
memory is right. Okay, and so in that master plan, is my understanding that'll be pretty looking at all of our parks first.
Correct.
Right. And so my only fear is I like the veterans engagement park, because I think that that's going to take a lot of time
Mhm.
and effort, and staff, that would be really hard for staff or council to kind of take on, right? That's a big project that we're halfway through now that we have funding for it. So I'm really in favor of that. I'm wondering, this is something that the U does every year, correct?
Correct.
So we could do with the, after the trail, the overall parks and trails, because I'm all about, I mean, I think I've said it enough, I'm all about inclusivity in our trails. We could revisit that one next year.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so those are my questions. I think I'm definitely in favor of the veterans, because we're like right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see what WSB comes up with for that all of our parks, right? Our 17 parks, and then kind of narrow down from that. So those are all my questions. So we're gonna go to, sorry, Member Schilling.
I have no questions.
So,
Kind of covered.
let me just,
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay, too much coffee on the way home. All right, Member Yeager.
As for aging in the parks, I did look at it again, and I do feel that there's so much duplication with WSB's work in their park and trail master plan, and also that there are, since we partnered with AARP, there should be resources that they have that we can utilize. If there were to be a project, I would like to see the scope broadened beyond just aging in the parks to encompass the whole subject of aging in the city of Wyoming, since aging in place was a goal of council, and aging in place encompasses transportation, does encompass walkability, like what happens when a senior can no longer walk, finances, and a whole other things. As for Railroad Park, I do see possibilities for this project, but I'm concerned about the cost of this. And given that the city has already spent $44,750 already on park plans between Swenson Park, Railroad Park, and the master plan, I have reservations about spending another $6,000 or $12,000, figuring that maybe we need the checkbook to cool off a little bit. I also believe that this type of project can be best done by utilizing the talents of people as part of a local volunteer committee. And I do have a concern about paying $6,000 for a student project when I can go to WSB, get a railroad park plan for just about the same money. I would hope the students would have been a little, I don't want to say cheaper, but cost a little less, where I can get a professional engineer for about the same amount of money.
In terms of if it would be the same amount of money, we don't have figures from WSB on what this type of project would be. So I can't really speak to what the comparative cost would be, but one thing that the students do offer is the wide variety of expertise that they do have, and the really cutting edge research and knowledge that they provide through being involved in active study.
All right, Member Onstead.
I have no questions.
Member Luker.
Ms. Dumas, could you just reiterate for us the difference in the work that USB that we're working on with the master plan, and how that works with, but is not necessarily a repeat of what is in front of us tonight?
Yes, absolutely. So WSB is going to be doing a citywide park and trail master plan, and that is going to be looking comprehensively at the city's park system and trail system. There's going to be a community engagement as a part of that plan, which will identify different demographic groups, including seniors as well as other groups in the community, such as school children, for example, and looking at how those different demographics use our park and trail system, and identify any gaps that are in that system, and provide really kind of a high-level strategic vision for how the city can develop the park and trail system over many years. In addition to the engagement efforts, there's also specific kind of proposed plans for what would help to address some of those needs. Alternatively, the proposal that we're looking at for Resilient Communities Project is looking specifically at how people age in place in Wyoming in our parks specifically, and how we can make sure that our parks are accessible and welcoming to people of all ages. So it's a specific demographic analysis, doing a deep dive into seniors specifically. The University of Minnesota does have a specialty in the study of aging, and so there's really relevant coursework and research that we would be able to likely access through that specialty. WSB absolutely has great expertise that they can provide. The idea with the Resilient Communities Project is it would just be that really deep dive into that specific area for how we can support that community in Wyoming.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Dumas, that brings up another question. So this would be coming out of the park board budget, the $12,000. But if we were to do, as Member Yeager stated, more of a how you get around our city to complement AARP, what budget would that come out of that we could put in 2022?
I can maybe defer to Administrator Linwood on that. One piece to note with more of a citywide effort that actually kind of fits more into what the WSB is doing with the master planning, because it's really looking at that demographic analysis citywide. And as it was stated, transportation, walkability, those are all pieces that are taken into account in that master planning process. But if Administrator Linwood, do you want to speak at all to the budget that would come out of?
Yeah, I think at this right now you have a park-centric focus on these two items, so you'd be looking obviously to use park funds. If you were looking at an overall more overall or in regards to that aging in place, I mean, you could look even out of our general to more of a contracted services if it was something a more overall scope that the council was interested in. I think as they are presented by Ms. Dumas today, I think the parks make sense, but if the council were to decide that they wanted to look at that and changing that scope to that larger amount or that larger broader subject base, or to, as I think someone stated, to see what WSB does and then revisit this, I mean, I think those are a couple different options as far as what the council would like to get out of this, if it's directly to our parks, if it's more of a larger effort, and I think Ms. Dumas has the expertise and can talk to them if that project would fit in the scope to that larger scope of it. So
absolutely,
I can let her speak to that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I think as I mentioned with the review of applications, if there is not a class program that fits this year, we can always continue conversations of what would this look like with either different classes perhaps, or what future options would be available to us.
All right, so we have really two items that we're looking at, and so it's probably best we kind of, I'll call on each member to kind of see if it's one, the other, or both. I guess I would like to see, again, I go back to the Veterans Memorial for the first one and see how that goes, and look at it the next one after the big one is done, and then it gives us maybe a little more time to kind of plan and budget for where we're at, and then it just kind of all comes in. So what I would like to vote on is to go forward with the one being the Veterans Memorial, and looking at the other project for next year, or let's see, when would it start?
They actually accept applications 3 times a year.
Okay, so we could start with 2021, they would start on it then?
It could be as soon as the spring semester, yes.
Okay, so 2022.
Correct.
So we would be looking at possibly 2022 and 2023.
It
could be
fall
both in the year or whatever.
Right, so the applications that we're submitting for would be for classes in spring of 2022. Then there's also a summer semester and a fall semester that we could also apply for.
Okay, so I'll state my opinion on this. I would like to see that we move forward with one of the two, and that would be the veterans portion and engagement, because we're already very much involved with that right now. Member Lugar, you're,
I think assuming that we could do, if all went well and this was something that we wanted to continue with, and I think it's something that the Park Advisory Commission does want to continue with, but I think if we wanted to stagger them, it sounds like there is a pretty, especially given the work that staff has already put into it, it sounds like this would be a pretty easy thing to put in for the next semester. Okay, I guess I'd be comfortable with that.
with,
Sure.
with the veterans or with the other?
With veterans, and then doing the next one the following semester.
Okay, Member Onstad?
I would agree that I would start with veterans and see how it goes, and if we get really good results, I would agree with moving forward after that.
Okay, Member Schilling?
I agree.
What? Pick one.
What you guys are all talking about, veterans first, then assess,
Okay,
and then move forward from that point.
okay, and, okay, Member Yeager?
I think the veterans should be done more in-house, not staff in-house, but community, rather than a student project.
Okay, so it looks like what we need to do is, let me go back to my, okay, to consider approving the City of Wyoming application to the Resilient Community Project, and do I just need to say veterans, or one or the other, or, and vote down the other, or what?
I think based by the consensus here, it sounds like there's support for the one, but
Yeah.
not the other, and obviously not at all in one of our
Yeah.
members' cases. But I would just, pertinent that you just do vote on the one, basically there's no support on the other. So you could
Okay.
just use that language and then apply it to that Veterans Memorial proposal for the resilient communities.
Okay, so we, to consider approving the City of Wyoming application to the Resilient Community Project, focusing on the Veterans Memorial Project, with the second project to be looked at after the assessment of the first. All right, all in favor? Oh, wait, I need a motion to approve. I'll make the first. Do we have a second to approve the veterans?
I'll second.
We have a second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
So passed. Okay. Number 15, the last one on our agenda. Proclamation recognizing and commemorating the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Ms. Dumas or Mr. Linwood?
That would be me, Mayor. Mayor, members of the City Council, the City of Wyoming has a commitment to expanding access through ADA improvements throughout our city. This year, staff have been working to construct improvements to Swenson Park that include ADA accessible amenities for residents and visitors to enjoy. Additionally, the City Council applied for and was accepted into the AARP Age Friendly Communities Network, which expands resources and connections with organizations throughout Minnesota and the larger United States who are working to support people of all ages within their communities. The city looks forward to future conversations and initiatives that build off of the existing work that has been done to continue affirming our commitment to access for all people. And what is presented before you is a proclamation celebrating the 31st anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Perfect. Questions from Council? Member Yeager?
None.
Member Schilling?
No questions.
Member Onstad?
No questions.
Member Lugar?
No questions. Looking forward to seeing this materialize down the road as well.
And I agree with you. So it's nice that our city is really recognizing ADA and getting involved with that. So it's about time. How's that? So, all right. So we need a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing and commemorating the 31st anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a first by Member Lugar and a second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So approved. Council reports. Let's start with Member Yeager.
I attended yesterday's sewer commission meeting where the plan is operating well, everything is in compliance. And we passed an amendment to the operation services agreement with Veolia, which now expands the scope of services provided to include full operation and maintenance. I also attended the American Rescue Plan meeting at the county. And thank you all for coming and thank you all for watching.
All right, Member Schilling.
I have no report, and thank everybody for watching and coming out tonight.
Member Onstad?
I attended planning commission last week, and that is it for me.
All right, thank you. And Member Luger?
I have no report. Thanks for coming.
I have a short list. I attended the American Rescue Plan last night, also the Sewer Commission meeting as well last night, the Park Board, the Planning Commission, and I swear I'm missing one somewhere in there. I know I am. So, not sure what it was. Oh, didn't we have fire relief in there too? No, was that before then? I don't know. I'm missing something, but I do want to make sure we talk about Stagecoach Days, and that's coming up. We have Stomp Out Suicide coming up this weekend. Pretty excited about that event. Typically, it draws between 1,500 and 2,000 people. So that's a great event and just well attended. Like to thank the Haynes family and also Canvas Health for making sure that this event stays true to the purpose of the event and what the family wanted. And then Stagecoach Days is coming up September 18th. We're having a parade. We're doing lots of stuff. Check out we have a band. It's only one day. We have a band, cornhole, purse bingo. We have the Wyoming Lions will be doing something for kids. We're looking for more vendors for booths. And I think that's it. So check out
Don't
the
forget
website.
fireworks.
Oh, fireworks, exactly. And they're not little pods this year, right?
Correct.
How exciting is that? So, yeah, fireworks at dusk in Goodview Park. So,
Yes.
all right. I think that's it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.